Going.
Well, do we have enough of a quorum to get going?
I feel like having a drink, I usually forget that.
Yeah, I'm not too good at it.
I'm this high, you know, it's just.
Oh, yeah. All right, we're gonna get started. It's 7 o'clock and everybody's here, so we might as well get going. So, roll call.
Yes, sir. Nicholas Trio, Dutchess County, present. Dave Violante. Here. Joan Siebert.
Here.
Tim Murphy.
Here.
Matthew Nolan. Pete Chanella. Dee Sagendorf.
I'm here.
Guy Carpicio. Orange County. Joan Cheney. Joanne Cheney. Ben Conquest.
Here.
Eileen Mancuso. Andrew Lamarca. Israel Knobloch. Terry Barbie. Frank Katznight. Michael Bigg. Putnam County, Robert Cuomo.
Here.
David Jacobson.
Here.
Matthew Bondi.
Here.
Albert Jacobs. Rockland County, Kim Lippis.
Here.
Nick Ruzieski.
Here.
Michael Murphy. Desiree Leone.
Here.
Glenn Albin. Deborah Stewart. Bernice Garrotti. BJ Leibner.
Here.
Sullivan County, Avi Bachman.
I'll be back here.
Thank you. Greg Tavermina.
Here.
Neil Medoff.
Here.
Heidi Stack. Mike Bruce. Mark Strauss. Ulster County, Richard Parrish.
Here.
Kelly Nelson.
Here.
Dorothy Balin.
Here.
Richard Mollerly. Mollerly.
Don't even try. I still can't get it.
Okay.
Muller-Liner.
Mollerly?
Muller-Liner.
Mollerly. Is he here?
No.
Okay.
After all that?
Yeah. Lisa Servino. Huh?
I'm sorry, what was that last one?
Lisa Servino.
Servino.
$19 present.
Do we have a quorum?
Should be on the bottom of the page.
Yes, 13 is for quorum. So
Very good.
We have quorum.
Thank you. All right, minutes were distributed. Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept, second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. And I have nothing unusual to report. You know, I'll throw things in as the meeting goes along. Treasury report, Nick?
So for the last quarter, or since the last report, we wrote 48 checks totaling just under $30,000. Biggest has been rent, health insurance, and our audit, I guess, is the big ones. Details are available if anyone wants it. We've gotten our second quarter program agency ending December 31st, got billed and paid, and the third quarter council for the same date is billed and paid. The refund, I think I brought up last month, that we were getting the refund for overpayment of $126 for U.S. Treasury, and that's about it. Total money in all the accounts is $233,414.
Any questions of the treasurer?
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
All right.
All right. Regional office report.
Okay. We've been at full staff most of the time. We've had some vacation, some time off, but that was it. And we are entitled to it once in a while. Since our last meeting, we've attended 20 mandatory meetings that we had to go to. We've had 14 MAC exams, and we've gone through an IRS audit on our 401k plan. Our Grants Gateway document vault was expired, so we had to upload and get all the information they needed, which is all our financial information, so that we can be pre-approved for our grants so that they come quickly when we get paid. We had the RTAC meeting, which was a kind of an interesting meeting. I'd like to spend a few minutes on it. The RTAC had done a study where they completed on pre-hospital transportation with O2 administration. The survey was completed by each hospital and detailed number of patients arriving at the hospital without O2 from EMS. And we're talking trauma patients. RTAC is the Regional Trauma Advisory Committee. And they found some very interesting results. Each hospital was charted, and there was a graph and the number of patients arriving without oxygen and the number of trauma patients presenting the ER without oxygen that satisfied the ISS for trauma, which is their index for severity of the trauma. And when they did that, they came out with 85% of the patients coming to the hospital were in non-compliance, and only 15% of the trauma patients arrived at the ER with oxygen that they should have. So it was kind of an interesting thing. I don't know how scientific the study was or if they went into a lot of detail, but they did show us the charts and did go through that, and I think it's something that we really need to look at as providers in the region. And I think the big thing is we've been talking about oxygenation and not really relating it, the difference between medical and trauma. And that's what I think that we're trying to point out here. There was Dr. Lombardi, who is the representative from Westchester Medical Center, was asked to discuss some of this with Michael Daly, Dr. Daly at a REMO, so that they can get into the collaborative protocols and look at them and see if we have the right information in the protocol itself for oxygenation. I don't know if anybody else wants to discuss any of that about issues or what they've seen, but there was all the hospitals within the region did participate. I do have the graphs, and it tells you how many patients were transported into each hospital.
A lot of the classes, they're teaching, using the pulse ox and, 94, you don't have to put oxygen on, but, when it comes to trauma, that pulse ox has nothing to do with it. You got to treat the patient, and again, getting it down to the cell level, and the pulse ox isn't measuring that.
And their big push is especially for head trauma patients.
Right.
Yep.
Because they said in one hypoxic event, even if you don't pick it up, since there are increases in mortality of a head trauma patient.
The other thing that was discussed at the RTAC meeting was a regional reporting system for EMS providers to report to the ER what's going on with their patient. And there's a couple of them out there, but the RTAC is looking at the MIST one, which is Mechanism and Medical Complaint, Injury and Illness, Signs and Symptoms, and Treatments. And they would like everybody to report in that way. Now, our REMAC has also put together a tag to discuss that. So we have, the RTAC wanted to vote on this at the last meeting, and we asked them to wait until we hear back from our tag at the REMAC. So hopefully that we'll come up with a common way of reporting into the ER so everybody can use it. That's pretty easy for everybody to use. Right?
It was a lively discussion.
Yes, it was. There was I've been going to RTAC for quite a while. It was the first one that was really mostly all EMS. So. The other thing was EMS for Kids. A lot of you guys have heard from me from that one. EMS for Kids was a survey for a federal survey to give New York State a grant. In New York State, 388 total agencies were requested to fill out the survey and send it in. 378 did. In our region, 41 agencies were requested and 38 did return it. So the other 7 that didn't return it were from Nassau. In our area, we're also introducing the AEMT level of care. Oh, by the way, with that survey, we still have to the end of the month to get it in there if we want to be 100%. So New York State is striving for 100%, but
Can you reach out and touch some of the reps that are here from those counties? Maybe they can chase the people around, like
They know.
chased our guy around?
they know,
Yes.
believe me. In fact, the last message, I think, went out this morning.
Okay.
Or was it yesterday morning? It was yesterday? Okay. I do have the chart here if anybody wants to see it.
Anybody from Ulster?
No. 2 counties.
Okay.
I know one of them.
We are introducing the AEMT level of care back into the Hudson Valley region. The first class was tested in Rockland County last Thursday. We're working on creating a MAC test for them. They can't take the test until they get their card, so it'll be a couple of weeks and we should have that squared away. Just a reminder that all AEMTs must respond with the 2-tier system defined in a medical control plan, where a paramedic has to be on his way there. The other thing that was important that came out was Governor Cuomo's State of the State message. It's the first time that EMS has been mentioned in there that a lot of people have at least commented on. And there was there's a proposal in the State of the State message for rural EMS emergency service systems. DOH will launch a campaign to heighten the awareness of EMS employment opportunities, and the Department of Health will propose legislation to authorize community paramedicine. So that should be an interesting one, and that's one of the 3-pronged approach that they have. The second one was increasing the availability of EMS training. The DOH is supposedly going to work closely with BOCES and community colleges to promote that. And they're going to add management education to enhance existing supervisory for EMS professionals. The CMAC and Remsco meeting was held in January 9th, 2018. I'm sure the committee will go over that. Our office sent out a survey for course sponsorships to express their need for CIC, CLI, and CIU classes.
No, too fast.
Oh, okay. Our office sent out a survey for CIC, CLI, and CIU classes. If anybody needs those classes or wants to get involved in EMS education, contact your course sponsorship that are in your areas. If you don't know who your course sponsorship is, see Karen or I at the end of the meeting. We'll be able to tell you which one it is. We have planned a legislative breakfast for May 11th, 2018, which might have changed a little bit after the executive committee meeting, we'll see, but Albie will update us on that. An interesting thing that happened and was that our Narcan usage in our region has dropped by 55% since January of 2017. But I think by no means is this a reflection of the lack of use of opioids in the Hudson Valley region. I think it's just that there's more people out there with the Narcan and EMSs playing later in the game. But it's an interesting number. Now, all of you who are paramedics and have dealt with our portal know that there have been a lot of problems with it, and those are being addressed, and hopefully we'll have them fixed very shortly. And that's my report.
Okay, a couple of questions. The audit, everything went okay on that? The update?
What do you mean,
Our audit,
from the,
anything that we should be focusing on?
We had a few bullet points. I mean, one of them was a new, we have to write a procedure on transferring funds within our account.
yeah.
We have 3 accounts generally, and then we need a procedure when we transfer from one to like payroll. They want a procedure for it, so
Okay.
we'll have that done.
And what triggered the 401K compliance audit?
They have no idea. I spoke with the guy, he said, I can't believe I'm auditing you guys, there's only 3 people in the office, there's no money in the 401K. He said, I have no idea, but I do need the paperwork. So I sent them all the paperwork, I got everything together from ADP, who was the management of our 401K, sent it to him. He's called me like 3 or 4 times. He was gonna come out for a visit, and then he decided he didn't need to do that. And then I just got a letter from him last week saying that everything's fine, keep working the way you are.
Very good.
So,
Good job.
we're in good
All
shape.
right. All right, Jeff, on the Narcan, you were gonna do a report based on county?
And that was distributed to all the county coordinators a couple weeks ago.
Okay, I'd like to see a copy of that.
Okay.
All right, all right. Any questions of the regional staff? If not,
Actually,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
last meeting we discussed getting I guess a document together, a presentation for the coordinators of what information they could get.
I am working on that. It is unfortunately taking a lower priority right now.
Anything on QA/QA?
The state bridge is having some issues.
Surprise.
The new state bridge is supposed to be done by the end of the first quarter, but the current one is not able to validate the data the way it had been. This was a problem that actually we pointed out about 8 months ago, and it took multiple conversations with the agency that was involved, their vendor, and finally the state. The issue was their validation scores were 0. And if you complete an electronic PCR and submit it, your score can't be 0. So they have found an issue, and it's not with all the data, it's with some of the data. So they've had to go back for however many months and spin all this data through again. So the validation scores are changing. They're fixing the problem, and they are processing on an average day about 10,000 to 14,000 documents to catch back up. One other nice thing is ESO finally came through and gave us a regional bridge. So any agency that's on ESO, we can see all of their data. And it's a fairly robust system. It's got a lot of built-in reports and a lot of reports that we can create, which is going to help us take a look and see what kind of trends are out there at the ALS level, at the BLS level. It's a much easier system to go through and review the entire document because I can see everything. Data that is shipped up to the state bridge, the narrative has been redacted. There's a lot of stuff that's redacted. So you can see the important pieces of the call, but you can't see everything. So if we need to document, then we have to have a reason to ask the agency for it. That takes time and effort on both sides. With ESO, I can just pull it up. So along with the paper chart reviews that we still do, we're doing 400 to 500 reviews per month with documentation in general, and not looking necessarily for specific issues, but to see trends.
Questions? Okay, thanks. All right. Did the medical director leave a report?
No.
Nope. Okay. Committee reports. Training there, Dave.
He left the report and said I'm on vacation.
Yeah. Don't call me again.
We just had a training committee meeting yesterday. I went through a number of things. Bill touched on quite a few of those. I'd like to update everyone on the regional faculty nominations. We had several nominations for regional faculty and program coordinators. Those are at the state. The state is still, well, they're down a lot of people and they've got a lot of work to do, and so they haven't had the ability to look at them, to go through and decide which people they want from all the ones they've received to fill those positions. So that's still ongoing, but the state has that information. We're just waiting on that. Bill talked about the CLI and CIC requests that went out. We're still waiting for some data from some agencies to determine what kind of course we need to come up with in the near future here. As soon as we get that information, then we'll put that course together and put it out. In terms of a CIU, an instructor update, we are changing a little bit of how we're going to do that. The state has increased the number of required hours to 8. And so we're looking at potentially doing something every quarter and doing like a 2-hour or a 3-hour stint once a quarter around the region so that instructors can actually meet what they need throughout the course of several years in getting that if they can't attend a whole 8-hour session or 2 4-hour sessions or however it is. So we're continuing to work on that. The CME program, as many people have probably heard, is under review, and there's a new draft document out for what people may need at different levels. I'm not going to go into what those numbers are because it is completely and only a draft at this point, and some people are confused in sending in their CMEs based on the proposed program, and they're getting rejected because it's not approved. So continue to send it in the way you have been over the last number of years. Don't go with any new numbers whatsoever. Just continue to go on with the way it is. As soon as that's out, we'll be notified from the state and can start working that program that way. I believe that is all I have.
Okay. Any questions, Dave? If not, thanks, Dave. REMAC, I guess.
Yeah, I have some notes.
Oh, you have a note for that one? All right.
REMAC did discuss the BLS protocols. At the state level, they were sent to EMS for Kids and for the STAC for review, and they did get the reviews returned to them, and there were several issues in there that they wanted them to look into, so they did not make the last REMAC meeting as far as a vote. So what happened is they hopefully will put on the agenda for the next meeting on the vote. The Department of EMS named Andy Johnson as the acting director of the Bureau of EMS. And our evaluation committee, which is the committee that sits on the REMAC that looks at and addresses issues that they've had with patients or complaints that have come in. They did have a case that was referred to them by Dr. Studd. The case was had some communications issues and some medical management issues. The paramedic was admitted to being a little flustered and thought there was a DNR. The medic was re-educated in several areas, including bradycardiac rhythms, pulseless electric activity, and decompensated shocks. The discussion with that was probably about 8 pages of discussion from the REMAC in the minutes, so I just kind of made that pretty brief. There was a short discussion on morphine shortages, and the governor's State of the State proposal was reviewed. That's it. Pretty short meeting.
All right, Glenn is not with us tonight. Did he leave anything for the Transportation Committee, or does the Transportation Committee have anything they're looking at?
Not as of yet, but I think the Transportation Committee will be busy for the next meeting. I know we have at least one Article 30 action that is pending to hit my desk probably the 1st of March.
One thing you may want to remind Glenn or whatever is to reach out and get a representative from each county to sit on that before that starts up.
Well, we actually do have a committee, a transportation committee that has a few people on it, and they've been pretty...
Refresh it, because
oh, yeah.
When I was doing it, to get everybody, it wasn't working.
Okay, we will make sure.
There might be time to swap some people out if they weren't interested.
Okay. Desiree, anything on the public information education?
Nothing.
Policies and procedures?
Same report as Desiree.
Nothing. And Mr. Bachman, you're up. Legislative and bylaws.
Legislative and bylaws. It's an interesting committee that we have here. As our president just alluded, we have a legislative breakfast that is scheduled tentatively for May 11th. That date may change because we learned during our executive meeting a short time ago that it is graduation time in the state of New York. And my daughter graduates that same day, so we have to work something out. I will be making contact with the 2 state legislators that gave me that date, though that date was chosen because the legislature is not in session. So I will speak to them again tomorrow and see if another day would be more conducive. At the last meeting, we spoke about the talking points, and it was going to be limited to 2 talking points. But after reviewing, there are some other matters that are very important to both the volunteer and commercial sector of our region. So it looks like there are 5 talking points at this particular time. That will be solidified, and when that is done, then the executive committee will review the program for their approval. There's nothing that I have to report on as far as new legislation. They are out of session, so nothing has moved. But there is one thing that I would like to talk to the body about. It is very important, and it affects us as upstate EMS providers. And that is, there is real energy in Long Island for fire departments to be able to bill for EMS services. It sounds good on its face, and the organizations of UNION, the United New York Ambulance Network, and the SPARA, New York State Volunteer Ambulance and First Aid Association, Rescue or whatever the name is, jointly oppose a change to General Municipal Law 209B. The change in the law is by one word. Right now, it presently says prohibited to bill, and the word that will be changed is prohibited to the word authorized. Should that happen, it will remove the provision that was given to us by Medicare Part D to allow us to bill Medicare directly when we do paramedic intercepts with volunteer fire department ambulances. This change in law affects only the state of New York. What will happen is if the fire departments are permitted to bill, then we will not be able to bill Medicare directly when we do ALS intercepts for our senior citizens or those that receive Medicare. And we will have to bill those patients directly. This will affect both the volunteer and commercial sector. There are ways to change the law, and that we will discuss when we have our legislative breakfast. We'll discuss that directly with our legislators and give them those ways to do that. So we oppose any change to the General Municipal Law 209B for those reasons. Lives will be in jeopardy. Many people will not want to have paramedics come to their door because they cannot afford to have a $900, $1,200, or whatever that bill may be, charge for those services. There is tremendous energy by all of the fire organizations. FASNY, New York State Fire Chiefs Association, Volunteer Firefighters Association, and numerous others that have this done. For the past several years, we've been able to hold off the change to that legislation for the reasons I just stated. However, the energy is now flowing once again, and there is tremendous support. And we here as delegates, it's very important that we take our responsibilities seriously. You are to speak to your legislators about this problem. We've been able to be successful so far for several years now holding this off. But you as delegates need to speak to the legislators that you are familiar with, that have a rapport with, to educate them what the change in 209B will do to the senior citizens in upstate New York. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I believe you figured out that it was Sullivan and Orange are currently active with the committee yourself. So to get the other counties, to make sure everybody's voice is represented when they're doing the work, we need to make sure everybody has a voice.
And Kim is referring to the legislative breakfast, right? And it's just 2 of us, myself and Israel from Orange County. And we would like to see one or two more committeemen, women, if possible. Thank you.
Yeah, I sent out an email to everybody, and all the committees need representatives. This committee, right now, you got 2 people putting it together. At least one person from each county should be working with them. All right? So we get the uniform message out representing the whole region. Right? They have an agenda. It's a viable agenda, but it just can't be 2 people. And that's, I was going to say this later, but that's the problem with this council, folks. There's a core group that are doing the work for this council. Everybody, and it's in our bylaws, all right, that all council members must, and it's highlighted, must sit on at least one committee or tag of the region. No council member should be on more than 2, excluding executive council and the council itself. So, pick the subject, get on it. All right? The core group can't solve the problems for this region. You folks are the region. You folks are the ones that are going to move EMS forward, not a core group. If we do, it's going to be our opinions and what we want.
I have a question for Almy. What counties do you feel that are going to be affected by this?
The entire upstate New York,
So-
above New York City. This
Any place deemed rural.
rural,
The
yes.
rural, it's not.
Well, there's 2 definitions of rural. There's the proximity to a metropolitan statistical area, and then there's there's a state definition of rural. Either one is acceptable.
Rich, I want
Go
to
ahead.
go back, just in history, I mean, when I first got involved with the council, it was very focused on 1 or 2 areas, like certain agencies, counties kind of control the region. And when we came on board, and Bob and I came on board as president and vice president, we made it very deliberate that each committee had to be chaired by somebody from a different county. Because if you're not aware, the executive committee is composed of the chairs of each of the different committees. And it's very important that we not go back to the old days where 1 or 2 agencies controls the council. Everybody has to put up. We have enough seats, and I'm not preaching as Rich is saying, but if we don't, like you said, if we don't put in, we're not getting out. And everybody's complaining about all the things that happen throughout the state, and how they make changes, and how they're forcing stuff down our throats. There's a lot of meetings that nobody's represented. So please, go back. If you're not on a committee, find a committee. We actually made it, back in the beginning, we made when we were doing the conferences, we made that committee 2 chairs, co-chairs.
Right.
Make sure every county had a voice on the executive committee. We don't want to be locked out. So, again, if you're here, you're interested. Let's all, and people that aren't here are more the target. Let's get everybody interested.
Yeah, but a lot of people come here, and it was like yesterday at the training committee. We had a full room at the training committee, but during the whole thing, I think 4 people really controlled that meeting. And it gives you a lot of information to take back, but yeah, it's not a one-way street. We need your input. We need your involvement if we're going to move EMS forward.
But do you really feel that some of the counties are going to have an issue with
To give you an idea how it will affect the state of New York, excluding the counties of New York, this will affect 1/3 of the counties in the state of New York. There are 61 counties, 62. Over 1/3 of the counties will be affected by the change in this statute, and it's all upstate. Those that have that rural designation, it's over 1/3 of the counties in the state of New York.
It's basically where fire departments are the provider of ambulance services. Or the ambulance is associated with part of the
Right.
fire. So Rockland, there's only 1 agency. It's really not going to be for that 1 agency yet. But as you go further upstate, where almost all of them are fire-based, or in certain counties, they're almost all fire-based. Those are the ones that get hit the hardest.
Now, unlike the opportunities that we have with independent squads where we can enter into billing arrangements, the change in this law eliminates our ability to have a billing arrangement with that fire district. We cannot bill. Nor can the fire department ambulance bill for us like we can with the independent squads that we enter into billing arrangements with. Also, we enter into the billing arrangements with fire districts now, but there's no cost to the fire district, by the permission of that Medicare rule that happened almost 3 decades ago. 3 decades ago. The change in this statute will eliminate that ability.
The volunteers, so you're saying that the volunteer fire companies are going to want to start billing
That's
for
correct.
ambulance services?
And all the energy is coming from Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island. Should that happen, it affects all of the state of New York. And this is the only state in the union that this change in law will affect.
Kelly?
As delegates to the region, what do we say to the fire-based ambulances when they want the support to be able to bill? When you say that they've never been able to do it before, it's because they've never been given the opportunity. So as a fire-based department, when my department is now pushing forward to do billing, how are we going to divide our committee region here and saying which way are we going to support?
You need to educate yourself about the change and what that change will do. I have before me, and I think what I'll do is I'll give it to you guys to make copies for everybody, of the press release that was put together by the United New York Ambulance Network and the New York State First Aid
Volunteer.
Ambulance and Rescue Association. You understand that the two organizations that we are a part of here have joined forces and oppose the change to this statute. So you can reach out to your volunteer association, Mike Mastriani, and speak to him and get guidance from him as well. But this is a serious matter, and it will affect all the senior citizens.
But our department may want to.
They may want to.
So how can we make that?
Hold it, guys.
Hold on. One at a time.
One at a time.
You need to emphasize to your organization the effect that it will have, and not see only the dollars and cents before their eyes, but what it may do to their mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers that it may affect.
Can I suggest perhaps there should be a change in that law?
You may suggest that.
I mean, because a lot of, I'm not going to speak for the ones that I absolutely know, because I do teach fire personnel, police personnel, and EMS personnel. And the agencies are not informed as to what the change is going to do. All they're seeing is their budgets are getting tighter and tighter, and they need the support, the same as being able to bill, okay? But they don't see the other side that you're talking about, okay? But it's never been explained to any of them. So you want us to go back to our agencies and explain to them, and I'll tell you one thing, I don't know enough about it to be able to do that.
Exactly. So what I'm hoping that our council will do is to make copies, maybe before we leave, and those fire-related agencies that are here, they take a copy of that with them. That is the press release that is being put out so that you can educate your departments.
I will say as having worked in billing, okay, for an ambulance company, and I'm going to tell you something, Medicare is getting tighter and tighter and paying less and less. So what's left on the bill after Medicare has made their payment is going to be just as much of a strain unless they have a good secondary insurance. And it's a possibility that because now your fire base, they're going to be billing. It's a whole new ball of wax when you start with billing. The thing of it is that it's not all cut and dry. I mean, you sit in front of a computer and you process claims, and if you don't process it correctly, it's going to come back. It doesn't matter what insurance company it's going to. If you don't have the right code, if you don't have the right modifier, if you don't have any of that information, it's going to cost the fire companies money to have these claims billed, because they are not going to be able to do it themselves without having somebody with the knowledge, and billers get paid. They get paid. And that's going to be a big chunk of money that's going to come out.
I think the understanding of that, because their neighbors that are strictly rescue organizations are doing it, they're having someone else do their billing for them.
And there's a
these fire
percentage.
agencies are looking and saying, we do the same thing.
It's a percentage, they're going to have to pay a percentage of what that other
they're
person,
aware of
that
that.
billing company is bringing in, and it's not going to be much.
Well, that's no different than your PCRs. You're still paying somebody to do the record keeping. I mean, it's there. Things can be changed. It just seems there's this rock that people can't get past. And I cannot honestly say to my department, we shouldn't try to bill. I mean, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here and say, look, I'm right on EMS and, oh yeah, let's beat this thing down. I can't do that. I don't agree with it.
And that is the sole reason to put out the press release that has been done by the two organizations that we are members of, that we must educate our legislators on what the effect of this change will do. We're losing sight of the issue. Yes, it's about the money, but it's also about the thousands upon thousands of people that are going to get big bills when they receive the necessary paramedic services that are required.
I understand that portion of it, but there was a point in time where any billing, wherever there was a volunteer agency, rescue, could not bill because it had to be the paramedic ALS units that actually picked up the patient, actually made the transport, and then that type of billing was allowed. The BLS volunteers could not now bill. Now they can. What made the change? It's not in concrete. People can talk to each other and work it out.
That's why we're having a legislative breakfast.
All right, Bob?
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I can understand, the fire department's position with, budgetary constraints and everything, and needing to supplement that, and having another source of revenue is certainly something that they would want to look at. But to have this law written in such a way that the ALS provider cannot enter into a billing agreement with them makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know why it would have been written that way, and that's the thing that has to change. So,
I think the term kickback came out.
but this is what's done with all the volunteer ambulance corps. Why should it be different for the fire departments?
Exactly.
So, again, we're creating this division, which there just shouldn't be. And I think that's what we need to get behind.
Kim?
Okay. One thing we need to do all do is our research before that, and make sure what our priorities are as a group, not one agenda, and pick our items, which Albie said we'll bring to the executive committee for. Because the last thing we need to do is be in that room and have everybody on a different agenda, because it's gonna, both ends are gonna lose.
It's going to distract from getting the message out.
And not to throw another, which was discussed briefly, but EMS is an essential service, which I've been preaching for 5 to 10 years now, is important too, because that would help everybody. It would help anybody providing EMS service, because it's going to make it a mandatory service or an essential service. So again, that's why it's important that each county have a representative to talk to the people in the county to figure out what the agenda items are, and then for Albie to put the agenda together and the executive committee to review it and say, yeah, this is our agenda, this is our top agenda, this is our bottom agenda, whatever. But to limit it, because if you start going more than 5, and 5's even stretching it, you're going to lose it, because you're not going to be able to push the key points that the majority want pushed.
Greg?
Just to throw out some quick statistics for balancing out fire services. Of course, the state statistics are 10 years old, but out of the 1,107 total ambulance services in the state, 507 are fire-based. So it's anything that is going to bump heads with fire is a real uphill battle.
Okay, good discussion, and get involved in the committee. All right. EPCR, no update. Mike's not.
Wait a minute,
Oh,
hang on
I'm
a
sorry.
second. Even though I'm not chair, I happen to know that somebody has something to say. Dave?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I tweaked him, and he goes, no.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you were gonna just go right by it.
Go, Dave.
So, everybody knows that the state is pushing towards electronic pre-hospital care reports, and that's a good thing to sort of move into the 20th century for a lot of good reasons. And so we have been working with some of the local hospitals to integrate the electronic PCR data into the hospital system. And so one of the things that we're working with the company ESO from this committee is to bring in something called a health data exchange. And so what this exchange does is it takes any PCR platform and puts it into the hospital HL7 code form that the hospital needs. Hospitals are required to integrate electronic data, some kind of data from agencies that come in into their system, and they're just not getting it, paper or otherwise, because there's so many different platforms, etc. When we looked at this, we wanted to look at any platform, it didn't matter which one it was, that would integrate everybody's pre-hospital care report into the hospital. This is one that does that, and so that's why we sort of push that. We've got 2 hospitals now that are in Dutchess that are interested in doing this. One of them is signing off on it, and so we're going to look at broadening that out so that this organization can then get all the electronic data into the hospitals. A nice part about what we will get out of this is patient outcome data and potentially the what we traditionally call the face sheet information of demographics of the patient. This exchange is important because as pre-hospital care providers, you guys know, you guys have been on those calls, where we bring a patient in and we don't know what happens at the end of the day. We thought maybe it was back pain, it ends up being STEMI, S-T-E-M-I. And we just don't know, and because we don't know the outcome, we think we're doing something well or right because we don't know any differently. So this will help tremendously in education. This will help tremendously in quality improvement and assurance. And it will help to bring down the individual silos in the health system so that the health system is actually a coordinated care system. So more will be coming on this, but at the moment it's looking very positively, and we'll try and expand this out to a regional level as this continues on and report further. Thank you.
David, have you had any problems with the HIPAA requirements? Have there been any resistance with that?
So a majority of the resistance comes from people in the hospital fastidiously doing their job to protect the hospital, to say that information can't flow outwards, and that's great that they're doing that, and we completely appreciate that work. On the other hand, we are organizations that are in the healthcare system that are certified with medical directors and have the ability to get that data, and so HIPAA is not a compliancy issue with the hospitals that we just have to work out with these groups. There are a number of places, mostly to the south and to the west, once you get away from the old New England, that have been doing this for the better part of 18 years already. And it's actually sharing data across the entire system, whereby providers come in with data, they can actually see patient data out in the field from hospitals and physicians, because it's centered around the patient, not centered around the agency.
I had to educate my corporate compliance folks. They didn't want any information going back, and they came after me looking for my job.
Sure.
Said, hey, what's your job? My job is this. And as soon as I told them that State Code 405-19 says in there that hospitals are to provide quality assurance information to EMS, and then I mentioned Article 30 where we're supposed to be also doing it, they shut up. And then they want to see, what are you providing them? So I had to show them the sterile stuff that when I do provide them, right? And, HIPAA, everybody's using HIPAA as the barrier. And HIPAA says that you can share information for quality purposes.
Right.
All right?
You can share information for patient care, billing, or healthcare operations, and QA comes under healthcare operations.
Yep, right.
And Article 30 very eloquently states that in its paragraph.
Sir, can you give your name for the, oh, you have it? I'm sorry, I didn't see it. All right.
Thank you.
And to dovetail on to Dave, I'm from Vassar, from HealthWest. We have 4 hospital systems. When Arlington's chart hits our medical record, that chart is now visible by all 4 systems, all 4 medical systems. They can pull the chart up in our electronic healthcare record, and you can actually see the chart at the nursing station rather than having to go search for it in medical records, which is a nice feature for ESL.
How fast does it get there? My biggest problem is they don't show up at my organization, at
You still have to
Health
hit
Alliance.
finish on the end of your chart. If you send it as a draft, it takes about 10 minutes from my playing with the system, because I'm a user of ESO with NDP, so I'm able to see my own chart. So when I sent a chart last Thursday night, I was able to see it in about 10 minutes as an administrator for Sharon Hospital. So,
Okay. Great. Any other updates?
No more information will come out as we progress with this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And anything from Murph on community paramedicine? Nope. All right. State EMS.
No quorum.
Yeah, they didn't have a quorum, but at the different committees,
Yeah.
different things are talked about. Bill talked about the BLS protocols. They are looking to expand them to the CFR, Certified First Responder level. There's an extensive discussion on what the pediatric definition is.
The what?
Pediatric definition. What is a pediatric? All right, and one of the ages they came up with was 15. They're recommending the use of the length-based tapes for meds. Mentioned Andy Johnson, the new CME program that is draft, and people are sending stuff into the state already, and what they're trying to do is follow what National Registry is doing, so along those lines. The age change from 18 to 17, folks, that is not in the law yet. And the state is getting phone calls from parents saying, oh, the law says it's now 17, and arguing that it is not. It is out there for public opinion, public comment, and it closes on March 26th before it can be voted into law. So it is not out there. The law is still 18. They talked about the CME program, not CME, the CIU program. The EMSC for children, the proper PEDS equipment. They're going to be coming out with recommendations that we should be doing pre-hospital education for PEDS biannually. There's a recommendation coming down that hospitals have a pediatric emergency care coordinator. We'll see where that goes. Yep. And that's pretty much, we talked about the acting director and stuff like that. That's pretty much it, right? Close to it? All right. That's what happens at the state. Gotta get those fingers.
It's been a long day, Rich.
Okay.
I'm sitting
All
in
right.
federal prison for 5 hours today, and it's been a long.
And they let you loose?
They let me loose. They did. They let me loose.
All right. There's old business. We got the tag, mutual aid. Anything on that?
Yes, sir. To refresh everyone's recollection, I reported at the last meeting that I would not give a report on the mutual aid tag committee until I received a legal opinion from counsel. Since the last meeting, I have made contact with House Counsel. James Tardy is his name, and we have had several discussions over the last couple of months. I have received a verbal opinion. He is referring this matter to the EMS Legal Division of the DOH, and both of those agencies will be doing that written opinion. That may take months to come. I, at this time, request that I not share that legal opinion and await that written opinion from those divisions.
Okay. Any questions?
And I will share that, of course, with the executive board if you require that.
Thank you. And something that's been ongoing, Regional EMS Task Force, that has died of lack of interest. So, all right. Under new business, awards committee, Kim has agreed to chair it. Again, we need somebody from each region, each county. They have to be to the state by May 1st. So if you haven't been beating the bushes on EMS awards nominations, now's the time to get going. They will have to be here, what did we decide, April 15th?
10th.
April 10th, all right? They have to be to the region by the 10th so that the committee can pick the region award winners and forward them to the state. They have to be on the state nomination form. There's copies on the table. If it's on any other form, it gets automatically rejected. They don't even read them. It's got to be on that form, and it's got to be limited to that. I think it's 12 font type stuff. That's it. All right?
Also, when you submit them to the office here, there's a section that's for regional council approval or recommendation. Just leave that blank so that when we send it to the state, we'll fill that in.
I'll let you guys hang out.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Neil's offered to.
So you have members for the committee?
Excuse me?
Do we have any
For the
volunteers?
counties
for
I
the
don't
committee?
have represented, I'll be reaching out to coordinators to let them give me a name.
Okay.
It's important that we have every county represented, to be fair.
Yep. All right. This comes as a seconded motion from the executive committee. We need to appoint a delegate and a alternate to the state EMS council, and it's a nomination to the state. They have to go through a vetting process and all, and then the governor makes his selection and appoints him. But the executive committee is nominating Dave Violante to be the delegate and Dave Grass to be the alternate. And that's a seconded motion. All in favor? All right. Opposed?
I don't think it's been doing any good to you.
All right. Also on the table out there were the meeting dates for 2018. February 21st is tonight, May 16th, September 26th, and November 28th. All right. So I got that.
Okay, one other thing.
Yes.
Going back to the legislative breakfast. I think Bill just
Just got my attention. All right, the legislative breakfast, the proposed budget is $2,400 for the facility, and right now we're looking at Orange County Choppers. They have a nice venue, and we thought it would be a nice place to have it. And then $600 for administrative paperwork, stuff like that, for a budget, an estimated budget of $3,000. Need a motion for that.
motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Oh, any discussion on the motion? I'm sorry. No discussion, and all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That's all my notes. Anybody else have anything to come forward under new business?
Well, I'm not sure if it's new or old. I had a conversation with our Senator Sue Serino
Okay.
regarding, I think I brought up a meeting or so ago about AEDs in nursing homes. And she is very interested. I have contacted the owner of 2 nursing homes in Hyde Park, and we will be having a meeting with this gentleman and Sue Serino's representative. They actually already have an AED in their one nursing home, but they have a lack of training, so I kind of volunteered my services if they needed to have a CPR class. Because we've gone in there, several times, and just, different things that should have worked better than they do. But the thing of it is that it is not a requirement. Sue did research, and there is not a requirement in the health law that they have to have AEDs in nursing homes. Everything else that's in that health law, that's not in there.
Not there.
So, just to let you know, I'll keep you advised of how we progress. Okay, with the senator.
Good. All right. Okay. Thanks for the update, Dee. If nothing else,
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
all right. Thanks, guys. Good meeting.
Rich, 2 people walked in, but I only got Bernice.